Hello, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Fida. And today's math lesson, we're going to continue working with our subtraction using three-digit numbers. And as we go through today's lesson, we're going to be taking a look at a story problem, and we're going to think to ourselves, what would it look like solving this story problem using base 10 blocks? And what would it look like solving that same story problem using a number line? You've had a chance to work with both base 10 blocks and number lines, and sometimes one method is more efficient or better to use than another method. And sometimes you might like using base 10 blocks more than a number line, or you might like the number line better than base 10 blocks. The whole idea is you want to be sure that when you're looking at a story problem or a number sentence, that you can think about the best way to model that problem. And as you get working with bigger numbers and the numbers get larger and larger, like these three-digit numbers, sometimes drawing out all those base 10 blocks isn't as efficient as using a number line. But sometimes the base 10 blocks are just what works best for you. So let's take a look at this example. In today's story, we have Michael, and Michael has $539 in savings. He wants to buy a model car for $225. How much money would he have left? So you can see we have our base 10 blocks to model our thinking, and we can see that Michael started with $539 in savings. That's his total. That's how much money he has in savings. If he wants to buy a model car for $225, we know we're going to take away that amount of money from our total. And then we need to find the difference. How much money would he have left? So if we take a look at our base 10 blocks, we can see that we have $539, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 510, 520, 530, 535, 536, 537, 538, 539. And when we look at the 225 that has to be taken away, I'm going to place that familiar hundreds frame over that number. It's kind of squished in there. But you can see that it helps us identify that we have two hundreds, two tens, and five ones. That helps us as we go ahead and do our subtraction with our base 10 blocks. So I know that I have to take away 200. I have to take away two tens, which is 20, 10, 20, and I have to take away five ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then we say, well, how much money did he have left? And we can see with our base 10 model that we have 100, 200, 300, 310, 311, 312, 313, 314. So we have $314 left. And if I want to write a number sentence to match that story problem, we can see that we started with the total of 539, and we know when we're doing subtraction, we always begin with the total, the greatest number. And this is a little takeaway sign there. I'm going to make that a little bigger there. And we're going to take away that 225. And we could see we did that by crossing those blocks out. Oops. And how much did we have left over? And we can see that we had 300. Let me finish putting this here. We could see that we had our 314 left over. That was the base 10 blocks. You've done this before. This is more practice for you, and it helps you to remember that when you're subtracting, you're crossing out blocks to help you find out what the other part is. Okay, let's take a look at the next slide. And when we look at the next slide, we have the same story problem. We have Michael with his $539 in savings. He wants to buy that model car for $225. How much will he have left? How much money would he have left? So when looking at this number line, it's a little different because now have we don't have to draw 539. We just need to put 539 on this number line. And when we look at that on an open number line, you could put it anywhere you want. Notice there aren't any anchor numbers for us to look at on this number line. And an open number line is very efficient to help us work when working with larger numbers. So we know that 539 is the total. And so that's where we'll start. And why do you think I'm putting it way over on this side of the number line? Well, you're right, because I have to take away. And if I take away, I'm going this way on the number line to a number that's less than the total. And again, in looking at the number that we have to take away, we're spending $225. So just like we did with the base 10 blocks where we crossed off 200, we can make two jumps of 100. We'll take away 100, and if I take away 100, I end up where? The only place value that's going to change if I'm taking away 100 is the 100's place, and I would end up at 439 because I just did 100 less. Okay. Don't forget I need to go 225, so I need to do another jump of 100. And I'll label my jump to help me see and remember what I've done. So I've already taken away the 200. And again, if I go 100 less than 439, 339. Okay. All right, and now that I've taken the hundreds away, I can go ahead and take the tens. And I need to take away two tens. So my first 10 that I take away, I label my jump. And you have to be careful now because we're working in the tens place. So what's 10 less than 339? We change this tens place to 10 less, so that would be 329. And I need to go another 10. So I'll take that away on my number line and I'll label that jump so I can keep track. And 10 less than 329 would be 319. And finally, I need to go 5 less for the ones place. So my last jump will be -5, and I am going to label that just above it because it's going to be too squished if I try to label it underneath. And I know that if I have 9 and I take 5 of them away, I have 4 left. So I'll end up at 314. And again, when I take a look at my number sentence, remember when we're doing subtraction, you start with the total, you take away a part, and you end up with the remaining part. And our total in this problem was 539. That's how much savings Michael had. Then he spent $225. And when we look at our number line, we started at 539. That was our total. We spent 225, and that left us with $314 remaining. That was the same total we got when we looked at our base 10 blocks. So it's very interesting now when you take a look at this number line that we're able to model the same thing we did with the base 10 blocks and getting the same answer. But instead of crossing out base 10 blocks, you'll notice our numbers are all recorded here on the number line. I know when you do your work for your teacher today, you're going to have a chance to practice working with more story problems, and some of them will use base 10 blocks, and some of them will allow you to practice with the number line. And it's really good to be able to do both models so that when you have to use either one, you know just what to do. So you'll go ahead and do your math for today, and I'm sure that you're going to find as you get practicing, you're going to find both of these models work well for you. All righty, I know you can do it. Have fun.